On this Monday morning, a 50% American tariff has just hit roughly $20 billion of Canadian exports, and Prime Minister Mark Carney has already promised to hit back dollar for dollar. That is not a drill. About 5% of what Canada sells to the United States is now covered by the new Section 338 measures, targeting plastics, electrical machinery, furniture, and wood products. The immediate market reaction tells you the story. The Canadian dollar slipped around 0.6% to $1.38, while government bond yields fell as investors rushed to rethink the outlook. This did not come out of nowhere. Trade negotiations between Washington and Ottawa collapsed over the weekend, clearing the way for the tariffs to become official today. RBC Economics had already raised Canada's second quarter GDP growth from 1.7% to 3.4% annualized on the 13th of August, so the underlying economy entered this shock with real momentum. Crucially, RBC says the new duties are not large enough to derail overall growth, because over 80% of Canadian goods still enter the U.S. tariff-free under existing CUSMA exemptions. But the bank also warns this is a re-intensification of U.S. tariff pressure concentrated specifically on Canada. Here is where the aggregate number hides the pain. University of Calgary economist Trevor Tum estimates roughly 87,000 Canadian jobs are now at risk, 52,000 directly, and 35,000 indirectly through supply chains. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business reports that 40% of exporters in its survey are exposed to these tariffs, and nearly 80% of those expect revenue losses. Some business owners say this will kill their U.S. sales altogether. The damage is also regional, with Quebec, British Columbia and Ontario most exposed. Meanwhile, Canada's planned retaliation could cover around 28 billion Canadian dollars of American goods and shave 0.1 percentage points off growth. The weaker Canadian dollar is not just a headline. It means imported goods become more expensive for Canadian households at the same time exporters face new U.S. costs, squeezing both sides of the economy. Falling bond yields signal that investors now expect slower growth and possibly more pressure on the Bank of Canada to support the economy. CIBC economists Avery Schoenfeld and Andrew Grantham put it bluntly, an escalating trade war will hurt business sentiment and contradicts their assumption that the worst economic hit was behind us. In other words, the uncertainty itself is becoming an economic drag. RBC's base case is that the macroeconomy survives this. Annual growth for 2026 was actually raised to 0.9%. But the next flashpoint is clear. Canada's matching tariffs start on the 8th of September, covering American steel, dairy, appliances, agricultural equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics. If both sides keep adding measures, the targeted sector damage could spread. For now, the biggest risk is not a recession from these 5% of exports, but a confidence shock that delays hiring and investment in already exposed regions. So the takeaway is this: Canada is not falling into recession because of today's tariffs, but its economic landscape is being reshaped. Macro forecasts look resilient, yet almost 90,000 workers and thousands of small exporters are sitting in the crossfire. Watch the Canadian dollar, business sentiment surveys, and the 8th of September retaliation date. Those will tell you faster than GDP whether this trade shock is being absorbed or amplified.